Hey everybody, this is Jeff Wilson from Total Body Running, and in today's Run Talks we are going to talk about off-season and strength training, or essentially that the off-season is meant for strength. So there's a few reasons that I want to go over this today, and three main things that I want to go over as far as the off-season points. So, first and foremost, there is no off-season for runners. If you are a true runner, and you're not just starting out, your off-season sometimes tends to just kind of like it almost blends together. So there's a couple things there. I don't want you to be one of those people that is racing all year long. You know, if you're doing one a month, that's really not that big of a deal, but don't be that person that's just running every local race just for the sake of it, unless you use some of them as training. You're just not ever planning anything. So, and almost a better way to put number one is, planning out a set of seasons so that you can pick what your off season actually is and focus your strength training on focus your strength training around that, your base building period, if you will, but just to be able to use this time to work on your weaknesses. Very, very big there. Number two, when you start to transition from your base building phase or your off-season work into your racing season, whenever that may be, don't expect that your first race is going to be the greatest thing ever, especially if this is your first time trying to focus on strength training, all that stuff. You'll probably see some great improvements most likely, but you may not right away. Take some time for things to actually expound upon each other and to see the benefits, the fruits to your labor, that type of thing. So don't expect all these amazing things to happen. Let's use a couple examples from a strength training perspective. So if we were to look at the Boston Marathon as your goal race, mid-April every year, and we're talking it's, around Thanksgiving. Everybody does a turkey trot. It'd be great, depending on what other goals you may have already set. But if your goal is Boston Marathon, let's say you qualified in September, or you're trying to qualify in October or November, something like that. I just kind of mentioned the turkey trot just kind of off the top of my head, but maybe either make that final marathon where you qualify, maybe have a backup one if needed, but maybe make that like the end of your season. You can, sometimes it's fun to cash in on your fitness for, a 2-3 week period, jump into a couple races because you're fit. I don't mind that, but be very purposeful with your planning. So let's use that November example. December, gosh, that would be the time to really focus on your weaknesses, take some time off, especially if you did a November marathon. And at that point, I know we're talking, I just mentioned qualifying for Boston. If you were, trying to make it, of course, the deadline would have already passed. But if you're like trying to improve upon your time, or either way, even if you're trying for the following Boston year, something like that, we're still trying to talk about seasons here and when to put strength training in. And it's really easy, even if you're a beginner to strength training, the off season would be the best place. There you go. So, but second, even if you're a seasoned person, it depends on how much you're expecting to race. If you're doing a lot of track races and stuff like that, if you're like just post-college or you're in college, then it may not make as much sense to strength train heavy, for 12, 15 weeks or something. It may make more sense to take the end of November, December, and early January to really focus on getting stronger. And I don't mean bulking up. Everybody pees their pants over that, but use that time frame to work on those things for a few weeks, allowing you to transition into the next phase of training much more appropriately, and you're going to feel a lot stronger, a lot healthier, ready to take on those hills, ready to take on those repeats and longer runs. So, and then lastly, one thing I really like about the off season, this is, my sports background, and in college and high school, but definitely college, we really only had like the December month, and like part of May, June is like your off season, but there really wasn't an off season. You were kind of training year round. I'd average, like, even on the low end of most college runners, I averaged about 3,000 miles a year, which comes out to a couple weeks off and about 60 miles a week on the other 50 weeks or so. I definitely had a couple years, I probably was at like 3,400, maybe more. My 2010 year was probably 3,700, but that's just kind of off the top of my head. But anyway, those off seasons, they're tough because you need some rest, but this is where you can really get better. The off season is where people falter, and you may be only worried about you and the clock, and that's fine. But the off season is where your goals kind of go down the toilet, or they start to shine, and so really focus on this period. During the winter months is a great time. That's why I'm making this now. Mid-February, this is a great time to exploit your weaknesses and to move forward in areas that can potentially help you in whatever races you're focusing on and get you prepared for that spring, summer season. So thank you for listening. Please read the blog below. You'll be able to see a link at some point here. And please subscribe to my channel and look out for some more run talks. Have a great day.